Zambia needs great leaders. Great leaders do not lead organizations. They lead people. This is Politics Unleashed. Exclusive to LM Radio 97.7 FM. Catch Politics Unleashed every Wednesday at 10 hours. Politics Unleashed, making our leaders accountable. Call 0977 977 860 for your contributions. The views expressed in this program.
It's a very wonderful morning for those of you that are tuned in to LM Radio 97.7 with me, Henry Wiseman Zulu. This is Politics Unleashed. And I'm so glad that we have quite a lot of things that are happening in this country, and all we're looking forward to is the certain level of development that we would desire to be the best of it for our country, and that our leadership should be top-notch. But then we do know that other people have complained and have said that this is all that politicians do and say, but they never get to live up to the standards of what it is that they do say. And so on Politics Unleashed, I always want to see how that whilst we talk about the current leadership or the leadership in administration, we would also do very well to talk about the opposition leadership and check out their competences when it comes to matters of leadership and development. And so the Patriotic Front did announce that they are now ready for the people that are interested in the party to come forward and put their names forward to be voted into office as president of the party. And one of them, of the 8, is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. And so very few of us know anything or a lot of things or something about Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, but I do remember him from the media time and all that, but there's many other things that he has done in this country and so on. And now a fully fledged politician, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba is a presidential candidate for the Patriotic Front. Ambassador, welcome to Politics Unleashed.
No, thank you very much, and good morning to our dear listeners, viewers, and wherever you are catching us on. And thanks to you and your management team.
I know that if I tried to go to Wikipedia and read about you, I may misrepresent you. So I would like us to get straight to pointers that ask you to start thinking that you can become a president for this country. And I say a president for this country because you're very sure that you're scooping the presidential position of the party. Then it means that come 2026, you should be standing for presidency. What would we be looking at when we talk about Emmanuel Mwamba?
Well, pragmatic, experienced, a leader that is engaging, a leader that has both local and international experience, policy expert. I am many attributes, but above all, for me, it's just about service.
And when we talk about service, I see that some of the things, of course, coming back here and there, that you did work as permanent secretary, you did work as ambassador and all that. If you can unbundle for us, what were the core parts of the work that you were doing whilst you were ambassador?
Yeah, so thank you very much. So I've been privileged, Wiseman, to serve in various capacities in this country. I started my life as a young man, as a banker who evolved to be a policy consultant for both NGOs and private sector. That's when I transitioned to civil service. That is where my famous role has been, where I served as an administrator to the former president, Dr. Frederick Chiluba, in his office as former president. It's a constitutional office. And I also served as his official spokesperson. And I think this is the first time the country knew who Emmanuel Mwamba was, because for 10 years, I was engaging and speaking on the matters that related to Dr. Chiluba and on national affairs that related to his legacy. For me, those were my formative years, especially at the office of Dr. Chiluba. First, he was an experienced politician himself, trade unionist, leader, labor leader, who had worked with the International Labour Organization for a period of 10 years, for 17 years, because he was Labour leader for that long. And then he was president for a period of 10 years. He was a Christian, and I met him at a very difficult period when people had deserted him because he had left office, and there were these persecutions against him. And there's always a silver lining, to every dark cloud. There's always a blessing in disguise. And for me, that was a blessing. For 10 years, I sat under the feet of Dr. Chiluba, understood him, listened to him. He shared his experiences with me as a leader, and especially as a head of state, and the challenges he faced locally and internationally. And just kuteka fiechalo charishopa. The expectations from people are this, and what you find in the office totally different. So for me, it was very engaging for a period of 10 years with Dr. Chiluba. And my administrative role is I served as Deputy Permanent Secretary in that office, other than my official position. I was privileged that when President Michael Sata, who we had worked with very closely in opposition, won, he appointed me as Permanent Secretary in Northern Province. It was not strange for me because I had been working in government for over about 11, 12 years at the time, and at senior level. So even the position of Permanent Secretary in Northern Province for me just revealed who I was. That I was a transformational leader, I was pragmatic, I was quick to make decisions, I wanted things to move. In Northern Province, Wiseman, I bothered to understand what the issues were. There were small and big issues. The big issues were issues of unemployment. This is a rural constituency. You want to see how agriculture can work. You want to see how other projects can work. One of the big projects I immediately recognized was the export. The way in the manner that Dr. Kaunda had planned that kind, Zambia, he had planned it very well. We had done the Tazara. The Tazara, the shortcut, would be from Umpika to Chinsali, Isoka, Nakonde. But he took it 200 kilometers further to Kasama. And then, almost like it's going to Mbala, then it heads to Nakonde. What was the purpose? He actually wanted to reach Mpulungu Harbour, Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world, one of the largest lakes, and it encompasses the Great Lakes region, DRC, Zambia, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, and it takes you up to South Sudan. And I saw this big gateway, and I wanted material about Mpulungu Harbour. I quickly gathered that there were plans to do a rail line to link it to 200 kilometers into Mpulungu, what we call Seluka Mpulungu rail line. It has been on the plan since in the 70s. And the harbour itself, our colleagues in Tanzania, our colleagues in Burundi have now expanded their harbours. And harbours are like airports. Johannesburg Airport can't link with Kasama Airport because the type of aircraft must land at both ends. So you must have huge capacity. The great trade around Great Lakes is being hampered because Zambia has not developed its harbour, while Burundi has a huge harbour developed at millions of dollars. And I told my experts, guys, let's do a program for the harbour, and let's do a program to link Nseluka into Mpulungu. And we began to work with our colleagues at Ministry of Finance, which resulted in an application to Africa Development Bank. And later when I left, the experts came, and I think some monies for feasibility study was done. There was an earlier study that was done by the Chinese, because remember they owned Tazara, they had built Tazara. But here is one that we had to do ourselves. So there were those macro projects, like Northern Coffee. We've been exporters of coffee, Zambian coffee. Many people don't know that it's one of the best. The climate in Mbala, in Seluka area is so good for coffee, so good for beans, any type of beans, including coffee, coffee or coffee beans. And here was a large company that had been operating in Northern Province. And when I arrived there, it had been closed for 5 years. I demanded the books on it. What are the details? I learned that we were crooked by, a Zimbabwean national who had come as an investor, used the assets of the farms for Northern Coffee. It was called Kateshi, and borrowed heavily up to $11 million. But it had been 5 years since the company closed. And having worked in the bank, I knew the banks must have written off this debt. I knew there's no way they would keep such a huge debt on their books. So I engaged. There were 2 banks involved. I quickly began with ZDA. We engaged the banks. The bank said, "Oh, those monies have since been written off. However, we have a receiver on site, and the receiver has their fees. If you really want you as government to take this, maybe you need to then take up the cost of the receiver." And the cost was something like $1 million. And that's how we embarked on that project. Literally, it just became my personal project. And within a period of 4 months, we had advertised in South Africa. We had advertised in London, and we got some bids. And one of the bids was from this worldwide agricultural firm that deals with commodities. It's called Olam. And their bid was very good. We had one local bidder, I think that was Savenda, but the bid from Olam was very good. They were experienced, they were in coffee, they were in beans, they were in many commodities. And they put on the table an amount, I remember, I think it was $5 or $6 million, where we could clear the debt to the banks, through their receiver manager, and government could have this cash. So the transaction was done. Payments were done through Bank of Zambia, clean payments, no corruption. Everything I involved myself. There is no corruption, transparent, on board. And I was driving that process because sometimes you'll have other senior officials, especially from Lusaka, who wanted to hijack such a project and demand, corruption. That was a good deal. As we stand today, Northern Coffee is the largest employer in Northern Province. It employs over 2,000 workers, especially at peak season, when they're picking the coffee and all. And it has over 3,650 farmers outgrower scheme that they had encouraged. So it's one of our largest companies in Northern Province, run by this international investor. So when I say I'm pragmatic, I'm transformational, this is what I mean. I get to an issue and get to a solution, whatever the bottlenecks. I do not say I do not have power. I do not say there's a minister on top. I do not say there's a ministry of commerce which is in charge of this. I get to the program and ensure that I get the solutions. It doesn't matter who's involved. If it requires a president, I will involve the president for us to get a solution. Another matter I did in Northern Province was when we looked at maternal mortality rate. At the time, it was Northern Province together with Mchinga, and the president had given me a task to divide it, which was another huge undertaking that we did. And because Northwestern Province has a lot of water, Northern Province and Luapula, so the permanent secretary is there, sit on a water affairs committee with water affairs, local government, and with the donors, EU. Water and sanitation is one of the largest projects you have in this country, other than infrastructure development. It's water and sanitation, because everyone is concerned about clean water, provision of clean water. So it attracts a lot of money. And I lobbied for projects where we had some of the worst maternal mortality rate, child mortality rate, especially diarrheal diseases that affect our children. So there was this pool of projects for the country. I think there were just about 15 projects, but they were mega projects. And for Northern Province, I campaigned for 5 out of those 15. So one to Nakonde, one to Isoka, the big one at Chinsali, one in Kaputa, and one in Mpulungu. I was glad that the Vice President, Honorable W.K. Mtalina Lumango, was commissioning the one in Kaputa. That was one of the projects that I had lobbied. Because Kaputa is very, very difficult area. It has, its underground water is all salt. It sits on a salt lake, like on a salt pan. And even if you dig boreholes, you get very salty water that you can't use for drinking. So we did a surface water reticulation where you dump some water from some small river, dam it, provide huge tanks, and then reticulate the water into the township. That's what we did for Nakonde. Nakonde is a population and diarrheal diseases, sometimes even cholera. So was Mpulungu. And a leader must leave footprints. You can't say I'm a leader and people don't know where you've been and what you have left behind. So for me, for Northern Province, I can give you so many issues. And there were issues that would surprise me. I get a report that we've dug so many boreholes in Luingu. And out of the many boreholes that we had dug, over 67 were disused. They were not working. And these are brand new boreholes. And we're planning another 100. Like I told you, water and sanitation issues in this country is very, 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 very big projects. Because if people do not have clean water, they will not have proper health. They will have diarrheal diseases. They will have malaria out of the pools and waters that you don't conserve properly. There are just huge ramifications they affect. School dropouts, other than the deaths and sicknesses. It also contributes to stunting and a lot of things, just the provision of clean water. So it's one of the biggest projects, especially after working in rural areas, that I found. So I paid particular attention. Here is a borehole. And the boreholes that these donors dig is not your usual boreholes where people pay 11,000 or 15,000 kwacha. They are overpriced. Sometimes one borehole is $10,000. Because I know it's the donors paying. And I don't know how the procurement is done. For me, I tried to reduce that price. And then you have 67 of them in one district not working. I didn't understand. I immediately put my team together. I said, let's go to Luingu. Tuaima tuayaku Luingu. And before I could even address the team in Luingu and the DC and her staff, I said, where you have submitted this report that these boreholes are not working. So we walked over to one of the boreholes, relatively brand new, but dry, no one using it. Taibomba tiyo ila bomba. So what is the problem? So one of the women came, and demonstrated. So she pumped the water. And the water was reddish. I was shocked. They said, yeah, because I am in tetmunwe, tetmuashishe, because it will stain the clothes. So the area has iron. So the entire underground water is contaminated. So you just can't put up a borehole and get that water. People will not use it. But someone has been digging for over the years, and where you end up with 67 of them brand new boreholes not being used. So there were cases like that where you have to then highlight to Lusaka that does the planning. What do you plan? Where is your monitoring and evaluation? How can I have in one district so many boreholes not working? How do we just continue to spend taxpayers' money or donors' money in this manner? So I ensured that policies were changed, because a place like Luingu, what you need is surface water. You need surface water. You might need to dam rainwater. You might need to dam river water. Then reticulate it. Underground water there wouldn't work. It's the same thing I found in Kaputa. Underground water is very salty because it sits on literally a salt. It's the same thing I found in Sesheke and Mulowezi. Again, you have problems even if you do a borehole. Mwandi area in Sesheke, again, the problem is that the water is extremely salty. So the boreholes don't make sense. So I was calling for revolutionary thinking. Guys, maybe we need to trap rainwater. Maybe we need to get water from the rivers because they are properly silted and naturally properly silted, and the water is far cleaner. But the rivers or streams are far apart to where the communities are.
I love those pointers, because then you are looking at actual human development, and you want to make sure that people that are so much in the rural areas and the ones that are more vulnerable, so to speak, are tended to, not only in terms of water, but the entire sanitation and schools and many other things, including roads, for them to be able to move properly for their produce and the likes. So that, to me, if you notice, it keeps me quiet, because now I'm thinking, okay, this could be the reason as to why you are now thinking to yourself that if the top leadership could be able to see things worked out like that, and have people in these provinces and have ministers that are pragmatic as you are, then we can see this country develop.
Truly.
I must say that I congratulate you for coming up, because like I said in our opening remarks, I've always known you as a media person, and now you have been ambassador and all that. There is obviously many things that you did as well as ambassador. Maybe you can share with us your international angle of your leadership. I mean, you served in South Africa, you served in Ethiopia, and all that. The way you worked to bring this country in terms of development internationally. Just quickly, if you can share that with me.
Oh, yeah. First, I wanted to share just two examples before we go international.
Please go ahead.
President Michael Sata transfers me to Eastern Province for no apparent reason. I have no idea. He's president. He makes a decision. And here I am, loved in Northern Province. I'm making changes. I'm transforming lives of people. People can see how we are pushing development, how we are locating hospitals, health centers, how we have successfully divided Muchinga out of Northern without conflict. Because remember, you just can't draw a line and say, Northern Province. It was a delicate affair that required that you engage the chiefs, you engage the planners, and that whatever you decide does not disturb, especially the relationship between the peoples, and also that development planning is not affected. So, but I go into Eastern Province. My first day, like I say, I'm pragmatic. My first day, I said, I'm office. I know I'm a permanent secretary. I know I'm a minister, but I want to have a feel of Chipata town. So I went to bus stop. So I went to the bus stop. I went to the market. In one of the markets, I find the hall, where our women sell vegetables and dries like carpenter and fish. And it's locked. I said, why is this? People are standing outside, and it was rain season, are selling from outside. Why is this locked? They said, I said, how? So I go in and check. Yes, there's even some. Fecal matter, and the place is flooded. How long has it been flooded? They tell me 3 months. I said, why? So I call the town clerk. I call everyone, the engineer. I call everyone to the site. It's my first day. And I said, where is the problem? For me, I see here, it's just a flooding issue. Why should it stay 3 months? And, they gave their reasons. I said, I'm giving you 24 hours. This is even before I formally meet them, before they even know the vision and the way I work. I'll give them 24 hours. I said, all I see is a flooding problem here. You can't have our women trading from outside. And here is a proper shelter built for them. Find out where this water is coming from, why it is flooding. Is it from the roof? Is it from underground? Is it seepages? And I go to another big market. I don't know why I call it Kapata. I have to remember the big market.
Kapata down the hill.
Yes. So I go to that market, and I interact with the marketeers, and I call a meeting of leaders, and I want to understand, of course, the water and sanitation issues. I put out a program that they should be cleaning weekly. But there's this recurrent problem. They say, Chipata is very nice. It's surrounded by hills. So the sun rises late and goes in very early because it's surrounded by hills. So they say, Edith Nawakwi, she was agriculture minister, energy minister, 1993. But it's Pangiraya Malait. I think here Wombele for 1 year. One of those old marketeers who know the story. yabombele fe 1 year tayabomba ifwe muno market nga mwatu sovele fe amalaiti yo nishimwa sova wa PS niwa minister nga mwa PS njela PS. I immediately call, who's ZESCO regional manager here? And they look for him and he comes. I said, all I see is electricity and bulbs here. I don't understand how such a huge project, and you know, those were properly made, proper poles, yeah, the towers,
yes,
properly made, and they are very, very tall towers. So I tell the regional manager, I don't understand why this doesn't work. All I see is cables and it should work. So that's how I go back to the office, and in the afternoon I'm addressing the meeting, and then someone comes to call me, one of the junior officials. But PS wale milanda popa radio. Atina mwasha malaiti ku market. Yada malaiti shayaga from 1994. So all ZESCO needed was just to check. In fact, even the original lights worked. I don't know what they did, but it was just a connection issue. And you have a solution just like that, pragmatic. I
would like to think that probably, may his soul rest in peace, Michael Chilupya-Sata, he must have seen that you are done with what you were doing the other side.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, let me throw this young man the other side. I'm glad that he could see your leadership competences and all that. But for the entire country to start seeing your leadership competences, and with these little things that you have shared so far locally here, as you're about to start sharing on the international side, one needs to start understanding as to probably why you passionately and personally want to become president for this country. Maybe before you go to the international side, let me ask why. Yeah,
it's just, like I said, it's about service. Far things can be done better. Our country is a very wealthy country. There's no justification why our people are poor. Just the other day I was discussing a matter where ZESCO has been forced to enter into an agreement with the mines to drop a case they had started. Remember in 2014, they raised charges from about 5 cents, to 7 and later to 10 cents per kilowatt, and these mines refused to pay, and they took ZESCO and ERB to court, and the matter has been in court. Just last week, ZESCO, ERB, and CEC consented, and the mines do not have to pay. Listen to the figures. From their own agreement, it's between $228 million to $1 billion. They do not have to pay ZESCO that money. They've agreed that Fiakari from 2014. It's decisions like that make me boil. Why would any patriot allow ZESCO to lose the money that it needs? Why wouldn't they enter into an agreement looking at the colossal sum owed? Because the mines are the largest consumer of power in this country. They consume from 50 to 60% of our power. And our power is generated at, because it's hydro, it's a bit cheap for us. But the song has been that cost reflective, that we are not paying what it costs to produce the power. You must have seen even the cost of service study that was recently released by ERB. Again, it goes that we should pay cost-reflective tariffs. You and me, Abekala Chalo, they are paying cost-reflective tariffs. The mines are paying half of what you pay.
I saw, there was a statement, actually, it should be ERB or so, ZESCO, where they're saying there has never been an increment from this period, so it warrants that an increment be done. But mainly you see that it's, of course, commercial plus
why would you subsidize the mines? Why would you, an ordinary poor man, subsidize a mine? Why would an ordinary small business like this pay full-scale rates, but the mines are paying a quarter of what we pay? And not that they can't afford, they have the money. The owners, we've made the owners billionaires. They live in Australia, in Hong Kong, in Canada. They live from our mines. The young man that owns the emerald, we are the largest producer of emerald leaves, I think, in France and Johannesburg, one of the wealthiest young men in the world. But what do you have to show for Lufanyama? Why can't we craft policies that benefit our country? Why do we get a leadership that is bought? It's not that they don't know what I'm talking about. But why do they render themselves as compliant to these powerful entities? When will you have a leader that saves our people? So it's things like that, where decisions are not for the benefit of our country, but for the benefit of a few. And the mines, that's where we have the biggest culprits. Look, we are giving them power almost free at very, very cheap amount. They extract our minerals. We don't even allow them to process. They are taking those amasaka, the concentrates. You know why they love to export the concentrates?
Yeah, it's got a lot of other minerals in them.
And they don't have to declare to you. They'll just tell you it's copper. So you will not see the cobalt, you will not see the gold, you will not see the other minerals in it. You will not see it. So they love to take the concentrates. They don't, because as soon as you process it from Zambia, then they have to pay a host of other taxes. And there has to be a declaration of the minerals that have been taken out, whether it's gold, copper, cobalt, or silver, or whatever.
I'm glad you're bringing this matter. Maybe without us going to the international side, let me zero you in on this one, but maybe quickly move into agriculture, because you obviously have ideas that you're going to use in terms of agriculture. From agriculture, we'll move into health, which I think matters.
So for agriculture, we should be just mere enablers. Ensure that the main roads are done. Ensure that the feeder roads are done. Take the power there. Power is very important. Take the power there. Ensure that you take transmission lines to where our people are. You'll attract both large-scale agriculture farmers and our smallholder farmers who have been doing very well without anybody's help. Because tuwapela fertilizer for tuwapela tuguagu, whether it's two bags or 4 bags or 6 bags. Look, we should just decide that this country, one of the biggest advantages it has is, for example, its land, its climate. And agriculture, therefore, presents the biggest opportunity, far even than mining. If our people, without much help, have been feeding us, what if we gave them genuine help? Why are people scrambling for bags of fertilizer? Why don't we invest in that? Why are we treating it as a poverty alleviation program? Why do we plan for 18 million Zambians? Why don't we plan for 400 million Zambians? Why don't we plan for 1.3 billion Africans? Zambia is capable. Aren't we ashamed, wise man, that a small country like Ukraine feeds all of us, feeds Africa and Latin America and parts of Europe? Small country in Ukraine. And when they are at war, the entire value chain has been disrupted. Wheat has gone up, maize has gone up, fuel has gone up. One country. We can be that country. We are capable to grow everything we need for consumption by ourselves and for use and for export. But I don't see any leadership that's transformational in nature that can bring the green revolution for sure and ensure that Zambia becomes a food basket. Not just as a slogan, in real terms, Zambia becomes a food basket. So our biggest potential is agriculture. When I was in South Africa, South Africa doesn't have water. It imports for Johannesburg most of its water from Lesotho. They had to put up a multi-billion pipeline and dam into Lesotho, which brings water and then gives water to Johannesburg. And their 30-year plans is to get water from Zambia, from Zambezi. Is there any consolidated plan? Our water, the region is planning for us because it's dry. Namibia is dry. Botswana is dry. The 2 countries with a lot of water, it's just Mozambique, Angola, and ourselves. Is there any plan for us, for example? We know Southern Province has been a food basket for our country. But it's been drying up, and there've been movement of people from there. They've gone to Mukush, they've gone to Tsamba, they've gone to Northern Province, they've gone to Rufanyama, where there is still a lot of water and the climate is good. Have you seen any plan to take water to Southern Province? It's thinking like that. We have one of the things I revived in Northern Province was the cattle ranches. The state had cattle ranches and they were closed. I ensured that they were reopened. And we started the cattle breeding center where we could then breed so many and then begin to start dairy programs and also just livestock programs. That area, Luapula, Northern Province, Muchinga, doesn't have any livestock diseases. The cattle population in this country is in Western Province and Southern Province, where it's plagued by these cattle diseases. First, there hasn't been a comprehensive program to deal with the cattle disease. There hasn't been what I would say a robust program. It's just business as usual. How has Botswana, who's our neighbor, just separated by just a small artificial border, how has Botswana become an exporter of beef and it exports to Europe, to the US and to China? They have more cattle than the population. They have more cattle than even the population of that. How has Botswana done it? Tell me. Disease-free, healthy, and they're a desert, for heaven's sake. We are not a desert. So for me, I don't see those discussions amongst our leaders. I see insults. I see name-calling. I see petty debates. I don't see something that can really transform our country.
Quickly.
And
let's get to...
I have helped many.
Yes, no.
I have helped many presidents.
That's one other part that I would come to, because
if they don't see how you see it, why can't you do it?
Exactly.
That's why I've offered myself for leadership. Look, how many will I advise? And the trouble with advice is it can be taken, it can be rejected. And sometimes when you are pushing and begging, they even tell you, so sometimes you have to take the bull by its horn. If you truly love this country, you're a patriot, and you think that this country deserves better, why don't you offer your leadership and your vision? And that's what I've done.
Brilliant. The health situation right now in this country, I have been to hospitals. I personally have checked. People trooping in and out. When you go to the pharmacy area, especially at UTH, the pharmacy area is when you enter the main gate where we used to go in when you jump off a minibus.
Yeah.
It's just by the corner there. That's a main pharmacy area. There is no queue there. What it tells me, without going in there to ask if they have medicine, it's because they don't have medicine.
Yeah, true.
Because the prescription is done by the doctor upstairs in the wards or anywhere, and so you are literally just walking out. And when you walk out, just on the roadside, you have now chemists and pharmacies that are lined up there, and that's where you find a lot of people. How would you resolve such an issue?
Nature hates vacuum. So the private sector have taken advantage of a collapsed health system. It's very simple. We had a test in this country of an efficient system, Central Board of Health, where it was devolved from Ministry of Health. Because they're just politics here. Sylvia Masebo doesn't want to be fired, so she'll keep on pretending she's working. That's a trouble. Let professionals run the health system. And Central Board of Health, like in London, it's similar model. For the US, it's a private run system run by insurance. But Central Board of Health was our best shot of how to run a healthy system. And we have now where the Patriotic Front built so many hospitals, so many health centers, so many district hospitals, where they expanded from one teaching hospital to many teaching hospitals. And you even have now mini hospitals that have been dotted across the country. The new Dawn government have employed 11,000 workers. All you need is a system. And what is lacking is a system like how Central Board of Health was running. The minister and his permanent secretary should worry about policies. They should worry about how the system they are supervising is working. They shouldn't be implementers. So where you have a system where the blame is on the minister, because she's not a professional, she's a politician, she's an MP, she's not even a qualified doctor. So she will not understand. First, the first thing she did was to disrupt the value chain. She said that much that's supplying by PF. So she cancelled all contracts related to previous contractors and suppliers. Killer number one. Because to replace that system took many months. They are still trying to do it. It's been 1 year. We are lucky that there hasn't been investment in the media. You guys by now would have been telling under investigative journalism how many people, you would even have a clock, how many people have died for lack of medicine. The blood would be on Sylvia Masevo and President Hakainde Hichilema if we are serious. Because for lack of medicines, not everyone that has prescription that has money to buy the medicine. So what happens to that one who can't buy or is not on NEMA, National Health Insurance Management team that we had set up? What happens to those people? Is there even anyone doing a count? You have 4 laboratories at the university teaching hospitals. None of them are working for lack of reagents. Because to test your blood, they need those reagents. To test, to do any form of test. Then you have equipment failure. From scans, MRI, name them. They'll tell you they're not working. No, it hasn't worked the last 4 weeks. They could even be hiding the information because they don't want it to be on social media. Then they'll be blamed that someone said that the equipment is not working. So you have the equipment failure. You have lack of laboratory reagents. You have lack of packs. You know, the ministry does send what they call essential packs for all the hospitals and clinics and health centers, where you know the biggest 13 diseases are these: diarrheal diseases, malaria. So you need paracetamol, you need anti-malaria, you need. So there's a pack, emergency pack that is provided for. Even those packs are not available. You ask the hospital administrators, they will tell you that the minister and the PSF told us, have written the memos. From the money we give you for cleaning the hospital, you know, the administrative fees, buying stationery, paying electricity and water, buy medicine from there. So now you have hospitals and clinics going to a private pharmacy to buy medicine for patients. Is that even workable? Is that even feasible? And how much, if you are dealing with the masses, can you buy from a private provider of that to our people? So you have a health system that has collapsed. We need something like Central Board of Health. Study it. What were the failures of Central Board of Health? President Mwamba is the one that abolished it. Why did he abolish it? He said all the doctors had gone into management position. So that was his complaint, that the doctors were not available in the wards. But now we have an excess of doctors. The numbers of doctors that we are churning out at graduation, because we just don't have one medical school. We have over 5 medical schools now, some government and some private. So that can no longer be an issue. So the health crisis, where this regards the life of our people, which has collapsed the last 1 year. And I must say, it's been incremental. There were failures even under the Patriotic Front. They had medicines, yes, but there will be intermittent shortages. Of course, there were intermittent shortages. There were also failures of equipment. But now the system has totally collapsed because of the inefficiencies at Ministry of Health, you know, the failure for ZAMSA, the board that should be buying now the medicine and then do the distribution, because it has transformed from medical stores to what it is. The president hasn't been fair to this country. Whatever his personal relations with the minister, that system there has collapsed and it has cost lives. And the president, as a leader, you make decisions not for the benefits of your friends, but for the benefit of your country.
Fantastic. We are here on Politics Unleashed, and we are talking with Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is a presidential aspirant for the Patriotic Front, and is just sharing what he would do if he became president of this country. And it's all because we do understand that there is need for leadership that is pragmatic, and he says that's what he is. So we will be taking your calls now on 0977-977-860. If you have any questions or contributions that you'd like to give out, you could also go to the Facebook page of Smart Egos, and you will also go to the Facebook page of Lusaka Music Radio.
Get interactive.
We're okay?
And share your thoughts with us.
We'd love to so much to talk about You open a Pandora box, you want me to see what I've done? Oh, I've done so much in my life. It's different. It's different. I love it. It's different.
The number is 0977-977-860.
Lusaka Music Radio, 97.7.
You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning. Your name, please, and your contribution or question. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
You're speaking to Prominent now from Marapot, Lusaka here.
Thank you very much for Prominent.
Inquiry. Canada ambassador says to Vonalando Kawat Mirashi Yamiro. Concanya Nipo. Yina unit so to Melo Mukwete ba PF, Concanya Nipo. Namona, Apanga to a Russian doctor, Tamko president, Tamko vice president, Tamko secretary general. But you have stood intact. Futina Makatani Moreto and India Temasana Pantumrendia Chapamo. Ichirango Kova Sinditi, PF more democracy. Morning and in this Panapamini never 8 was Emmanuel Mwamba. Makudini Rekareka, Makudin Pasase, Makudin Turundu. Non the in Uchmakoto Abuanan, Okon Kanya Posana Sana. But I got more Vasendeva Mwamba, Tommy Votan, Mo Forever and 2, Mishawa Mishana Sana. Achakwa niba chimbakambira ngura wa GPM nicho fine makuikatana mamweni eso telefone tungurishiri yose kwa checkma MPF pantu muletera ma checks and balances rashire pero tuwa badi nokuteko wabo mamweni ntezi ubu uteko bwatura ile babamba tingabaisa pantu bena bafama balimi na pisine abasije kuposta teromba mabini mamweni ntezi lomba patre dabo kwa abantu bamba kula ipenda mulando kwa watu Chita tamushirire mwine wanganda. Mamwe, leo ndapotea kwa tumwe ni Mwamba. Awale supposed to go to wali leta maskulu wali leta free education. Amaskulu yo makuli ni mwevo. Namba free education tu papa. Pantu mwere mwale kule patara wale ni motio kwa tinga mwalwala mwe kumoni usite. Meanwhile, mlendo kwa tinamu kwa patara. Namba mwale free education batretira wa Mwamba. Vantu vakainda chema vatwara mwana wabodedipira 58,000 pounds kuskulu ero nokavaletowo kwatike kale nyuma skulu natumitera free education is it not this the animal farm ushapo kutogotera fena zambia kwanti wale tuchita discriminate
Tuatasha Mkwai, Tuatasha, so I'll take that call down. Natu Ishimia, Mkwai Twami Katinga, because Namlanda sufficiently, okay? Namweshako at least, Tuachipera more time, because you were our first caller, but we are not disrespecting whatever it is that you said. We appreciate, and I think the ambassador has heard. He will comment on that as well. So we will take your calls again. Just in case you have just tuned in, this is Politics Unleashed with me, Henry Wiseman Zulu, and I'm talking with the presidential aspirant of the Patriotic Front, and this is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. He's sharing with us his leadership competences and what it is that he would do should he become Patriotic Front president, and then obviously come 2026, he should be standing on a presidential ticket for this country in 2026. So you are calling us on 0977 977-860. The education side, which he touched on while we're waiting for any other call, your education plan and your thoughts on education right now, because I have heard that people are actually complaining, that teachers are complaining, and also parents are complaining that yes, free education, but what it has done now is that it has put pressure on both pupils and teachers. Teachers how? Because no matter how super a teacher you are, now you're teaching a bloated classroom block, and no matter how super a pupil you are, you cannot learn because the teacher is not sufficiently having time or expertise or energy to actually teach. What is your thought?
I've heard teachers say, for example, how can I mark books of 120 pupils? How can you deal with their homework? And the desks sometimes are just 10 desks over a crowded classroom of 60, 70, 90. I regard these as teething challenges. For me, I've welcomed that at least there is no child that is remaining out there. The child should be in school. Like our policies, for me, the way I see, our policies on young people and children is that they should be in school, they should be in training, they should be in entrepreneurship, they should be in jobs. You don't want children loafing and idling out there. That's a danger for delinquency. So, but here are my thoughts. What we need to change is the curriculum. The curriculum is colonial. It was designed to teach us how to speak English and do a few counts for us to be clerks. The designers of this education system we have were looking for workers. And that is why any businessman in this country are businessmen by default. No one taught them how to be business. No one taught them the discipline. No one prepared them for the harsh environment of an entrepreneur. You want that taught in school. Financial literacy, financial discipline, entrepreneurship, how to develop and empower, give them skills. All that and innovation is absent from our education system because the designers of this idea wanted workers. There were no workers. They were dealing with an illiterate population. So they said, who will be our civil servants? Who will work in the mines? Who will do the counts? Who will do the basic requirement? And they designed this education system. So it needs to be decolonized. We've done a few changes here and there, but it has never been subjected to comprehensive review. In fact, for me, I bemoan, because it's an education system that creates unemployment. Every person you are seeing who's graduating every year, that number, you know where they are headed to unemployment. So you have a system that doesn't respond to the type of economy you have. It doesn't respond to the informal nature of your economy. It doesn't prepare you for the world. You can't get a job in Zambia. You can't get a job elsewhere. It is extremely limited and limiting. So we need a transformational approach to our education system. Decolonize it, reform it, prepare it for the times that it is in, and recognize other skills and talents and formalize them in school. Like business enterprises, entrepreneurship, innovation ideas. These should be formalized. Use science to give skills to these young people.
0977-977-860 is the number you're calling us on Politics Unleashed, right here on LM Radio 97.7. And we do have a caller. You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Please, quickly, if you can, within a minute, your name and your contribution.
Honorable Mwamba, how are you?
Very well, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine. This is Darius Kunda calling you from Chawam.
Yes, Mr. Kunda. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, he carried this time, they were method not waste business. Kushtisha to a respect to a required business. We are just sitting there. Watisha uka 50 kwacha. Nishina ushuka sana. Kutukila tokushita tukabenkanama sana. Lumu jushi wena tisisa na ukufisa. Tuvenchunga. Wambo kuchura nombo kubisana. Then Mr. Mwamba ndefa mlande sana. Pamusebo uiwaya kunozen province. Waya kuna kondi. Between Lusaka, apapaka tipamukushi. The road is bad. It takes up to almost 1 hour 30 minutes. Now we're to end up almost 6 hours which became Ushi to Lusaka. Musegwari, on a Kasiari was feeling madam. So I want you to talk and to push the government. I never won't be for please to a papa to a chula to a friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. At least I do understand Bemba, and you yourself are Bemba. That's my tribal cousin there. 0977-977-860. You're through to Politics Unleashed. We've lost that call. 0977-977-860 is the number you're calling us on in case you just have a contribution or you'd like to ask any questions to Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is a presidential aspirant for the Patriotic Front. And Ambassador Mwamba did work as permanent secretary, provincial minister. He also has worked as ambassador. I'll throw you back to Ethiopia. Just maybe 2 pointers that you feel when you did this country moved to a better level when it comes to matters of its international relations and work. Let's take that call. We'll come back to that point. You are through to Politics Unleashed. Your name and your contribution. Please, within a minute, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Evaristo Tembo PF mu mukolo wa 12 bamwamba wesu
Mkwai tiri bwino muri bwanji
ni chairman PF mu mukolo wa 12 ani yamene mwaleta nyabuno ngako ndipo mutilimbisa isa kumawazi because what you have to nakalinganga pachipani so osa yambana osa chitabwanji so ati mwashemu aba bantu nibeva mbiri koka bitirizani pamemu ukamba vabwino kwambiri onani government yamene yachika fataleza abantu aba bawata so kizakhala bwanji nawo abantu no bitirizani we have to come back 2026 thank you very much
Chabwino Mkulu zikomo kwambiri for coming through to Politics Analyst. The number you're calling us on rather, is 0977 977 860. Ambassador, I asked you just 2 pointers that you feel...
The policies at the African Union, I was privileged that I was permanent representative to the African Union. Probably let's take the callers.
Let's go ahead.
Then
You're through to Politics Analyst. Good morning.
Hello?
You're through to Politics Analyst. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Please go ahead. Your name, contribution, or question within a minute if you can.
Mr. Swale.
Yes, Yasiwale.
Bamwamba mushanu kwa.
Shani basi wale.
Yawa ile nisho bwino bamwamba.
Muri uli.
Different bamwamba. This have called today. Ili mida mikonga bamwamba. Fumu leo nda filifio bwino. Number I've got quickly question which I'm going to ask about UPF. But PF Parino, so the only thing we should be doing start going around to apologize for us because the PF what you have done bad things want to not full. Then lastly, never we show question about PF when they are inspiring presidency. Kuli ba MPs ku chinga ba Chavinga. But Chavinga you want to suspend him from the party. Look, just because Chavinga ba didn't command our president kuya. Baba mama Maria ko kuyombe walimu kumanga kuyombe mama.
Mkwai na libombela ko kulia.
Is bad Mwamba and that member of parliament, remember when we tap out for what happened in Jose Kudia. Road Jari or Isoka, no one talks about it. No wonder the member of parliament is trying to bring good development. And yet, member of parliament, please do something. Every day. Development, you are saying you're going to suspend you. That's not a good rule, Mwamba. And then to appreciate some of the things which your friend has. They are not from what you know which time. And the Korean Democrats apologize because of your cut there's but in the money you should come and apologize. I was a PF member, that is why I didn't even vote for you, but in the money just because I was picking up a billboard. That's how I end my living. I don't ask from government.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming through. I'm sure he didn't hear what we were talking about really on this program. Mainly we're trying to find out your leadership competences and so on.
But it's fine. We can answer every query. Let me answer quickly Darius Kunda, who says there's no money, there's no business where they are. But it's very simple. The cost of living is the highest we've ever seen in the last 30 years. And I personally have been prompting President Hakainde Hichilema to focus himself not on the arrest of leaders, not on these petty issues, to grip himself, seize himself with the matters of the economy. This is where our people are hurting. I know a turnaround takes time, but the focus, if you put a focus, the turnaround will be far faster. The price of fuel is the highest we've seen in the last 30 years. Price of millimil is the highest you've seen in the last 30 years. Price of everything is the last you've seen in the last 30 years. So, before we even talk politics, our people are in trouble. And, for our workers, they don't even earn a living wage. Even the wage they get, first of all, they're highly indebted to these salary-based microfinance institutions that are predatory in nature, that leaves them with no money, that don't even care about the threshold of lending. So we have an economic crisis that needs to be attended to. You are sitting on a boiling pot. Attend to it. Cool it down. He talked about the Serenge-Mpika road. I know that road very well. I understand some of the delays have been through the procurement of ADB, Africa Development Bank, has provided a loan because this is one of the gateways to the cost. There've been these corridors that SADC has been promoting, whether it's in Nakala corridor or these corridors. So the Great North Road is one of those roads that's financed internationally. But the procurement process is terrible. So from Serenje to Mpika, oh my God. This is a 2-hour journey. It will take you 4 to 5 hours if you even have your car intact. From Mpika to Chinsali, the road is a bit relatively okay, but terrible. From Chinsali to Isoka, oh my God. You had government posting pictures that they are working on the road. First of all, this road is 1,000 kilometers. And they are doing a portion of 80 kilometers and they splash the roads, the pictures all over social media that they are tending to this road. In fact, the 80 kilometer was done by PF. So you give an impression that the road is being worked on when you are doing 80 kilometers out of 1,000 kilometers. From Kapiri to Nakonde is 1,000 kilometers. So it's a massive road, and it's our international trade route, to Dar es Salaam, and trade has been disrupted. We are forced to go to distances that are far, far longer, like Walvis Bay, which is 2,000 kilometers, Beira, and Deben. So there's need for us to repair that road, and for me, this is where pragmatism comes in. If you can't put it on an ADB loan, you might have to find your own resources and do the road, because it's critical for this country.
Brilliant.
And I apologize to Wasiwale, who I'm told very lemon. Wasiwale, if you can get my number, I would like to speak to you personally. I'm terribly disturbed about that matter where you were a victim of political violence, and you have attained a disability out of it. Unacceptable, totally unacceptable. But you also talked about something very important. We have an MP, Robert Chavinga.
Yes.
And he's been quoted in the media, praising President Hakainde Hichilema. He's been quoted in the media, somehow like he's speaking against the Patriotic Front. I'm aware that the leadership is seized with this matter. Robert Chavinga is a young, brilliant young man. I know him. He's a businessman and, very entrepreneur. He really has dedicated his life for the people of Mafinga. He tried to stand in 2016. We didn't pick him. He just has a love for his people. I'm aware of the road he's talking about from Isoka, that takes us into Mafinga to Muyembe. I'm aware about that road. We only did, again, I think up to 60 kilometers, but it's like 180 stretch, and the bulk of it hasn't been done, and it's hilly. I've been there several times, and it needs to be done. So I think for me, I'll encourage the leadership in PF to sit with Mr. Chavinga. He's our member. He was elected on our ticket. He still can lobby for development from government without disparaging us, without destroying us. He can strike a balance where he saves his people and saves the party. We have over about 60 MPs, and they're working with government in one way or another, through CDF, through local government structures, and sometimes through these ministries, whether it's water or infrastructure. They are working with it. You do not have to insult your home if you go to a rich man's home. No, you don't have to. You still can get the benefits without insulting. But I know Robert. He's been trying to be an MP since 2016, and I respect him. And I think that there is an amicable matter we can find away from the glare of the media.
You are calling us on 0977-977-860 right here on LM Radio 97.7 with me, Henry Wiseman Zulu, on Politics Unleashed. You can also go to the Lusaka Music Radio Facebook page and leave your comments there or your questions. And you can also go to Smart Eagles Facebook page. Please go ahead, your name and your contribution.
I'm calling in Lusaka.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm back. How are you?
Very well, Mr. Kanenge. How are you?
I'm okay, sir. I'll be quick. I think I've heard what you said. I'm looking at the savings which you do. There is no doubt in me that you can be able to be the president of the political party of PF. And I like the way you articulate things, because if you are somebody who is selfish, you couldn't even stand it. Because some of the ambassadors, they are quite, others, they are gone for good. but you accepted your country to see that it has to be helped. And I encourage you, please, whatsoever is going to be chosen, if it is you, may people for the PF support you because you have the leadership quality. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There you go. Ambassador, I realized that one of the things that has now been buried, obviously, in terms of media was that, look, where did you get the 200,000 kwacha? And I remember you saying, look, I have worked, and it's not like a melofa, and so from your savings and all that. But also when you said, how can I fail to raise? For me, it sounded like you are well able to go to family and friends and organizations that believe in your leadership competences, that then they can say, we will support you, and they give you 100 kwacha.
Yeah, true. First of all, in this country, there is no mechanism or regulation around political funding, political party funding, and that's why we have trouble, for example, the law enforcement agencies seizing our motor vehicles, seizing people's bank accounts, because there's no regulation of how you get money to finance your political activities. We don't know where Mr. Kainde got the millions to run his campaign. We don't know where Edgar Lungu got his millions to run the campaign, because there is no legal framework that provides for it. In fact, today there's a workshop where political parties are discussing financing and how to bring regulation to political party funding. In relation to the Patriotic Front, the notice was good 2.5 months. They had announced on 12th August that there will be these nominations that will take place, and that the application fee is 200,000 kwacha. And on 12th August, and they said the deadline is 31st October. So you are 2.5 months. If you're a serious applicant, the money didn't appear on a day of closing date or on the day of application. We knew for 2.5 months that this matter was coming up.
Fantastic. And so that gets to be put to bed, because sometimes people are having sleepless nights and they're saying, look, the PF stole money and that's why they can manage. Can't you see? And I'll find that.
How much is a Corolla? How much is an Alphard? How much? This is not a lot of money.
That's it.
And politics actually attracts a lot of money. We are yet to spend more money than that.
There we go. 0977-977-860. Before we come to the end of the program, Ambassador is here. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba is a presidential aspirant for the Patriotic Front. And for me, I'm looking at it and saying, should you get that position, then you are standing 2026. And for me, that becomes a very passionate point of saying, will you be able to lead the country? You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Very well. Please, your name and your contribution or question.
My name is Chris Deacon calling you from Kanyama.
Go ahead.
Yes, Ambassador, in the first place, I think you are not the good leader and the citizen, because the mistakes and the miseries that you were facing in the field, you were there, you were able to know them. But you could not just come and advise the party, but rather you went and requested the Tulungu to sit down so that you get your thing. So now the issue is you were not there to help, but you're just there so that you yourself can become a leader. But I believe being a good leader, possibly was not possible, but the contribution was so much in need by the time before it was kicked out of power. I thought need.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You were obviously away and all that, but then you were also present, and that's why I wanted to hear some of just maybe two, but maybe let's reduce it to one.
Yeah.
Whilst you were away in Ethiopia and many other.
Yeah. So when I was in South Africa, there are two major things I did. Maybe we'll do it in conclusion. Let's say.
Yeah, let's go ahead. You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Your name and your contribution or question.
My name is Emmanuel Mwamba. I'm calling you from Chinyanja, that is in Wacha.
Please go ahead, Waham Pande.
Yeah, I'm a TF member. I just want to congratulate Mr. Mwamba. Can you at least what you share? Also, we know who aspiring president is to
Thank you very much, Natasha Sana.
Thank you very much.
This is a very lovely country. You know, Hampande is Tonga.
Yeah.
Or no, Wambawala is even. That's lovely. You are calling us on 0977-977-860 right here on LM Radio, Politics Unleashed. You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning.
Hello,
Good morning, sir. Your name and your contribution or question.
this is Hamianda
Hamianda.
in Lusaka. Mwamba Mwamba
Twabuka badala mwabuka buti.
Parumbaga Party.
Mm.
You know, my leader, I like your spirit, and I like the way you articulate things, because every now and then when you are speaking on the radio, you don't attack anybody. You speak the truth the way it is. In Tonga we say muntu tabiji wonse simply means somebody can't be bad in everything. Yes, quite right, PF did some of the misery, but I expect you because the way you come, your remorse, even the way you answered the person who was being paralyzed by the PF, it shows leadership. My prayer that may you please pass through and become the president of the party. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Thank you so much for coming through. 0977-977.
Probably have to take the last call, then we can
Yes,
attend to this as we
so
go to
on,
close.
because we're picking them as they are coming. You are through to Politics Unleashed. Good morning. Your name, sir, and your contribution or question.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Mulenga calling from Bala.
Please go ahead, Ramlenga.
Yes, Mr. President,
Very well, mwewe nambala mulishani. Iyo lesa letu sunga shana imwe.
President, in question yandi yaba chimfe tayari. Nisi mresu misabare ingila MPF. Gale landa you are not eligible. Na imulizi tamushat makonfusion vale reta.
Iyo wamulenga tuwaumfa, thank you very much.
So we'll take that as a question.
The PF is strong party opposition to Kwete na open for Mbala, Utukia Wera Mupawa. No, by think Mama checks and balances to reach like if you can take Bagapola via citizen Bagapoka, the praise. You take to you condemn that. Because next time you'll be the president, maybe 2026 will be the president. If it was you, could you ask him a citizen watch kid? So please, PF, again to Wombedi Pamo.
Maybe, there we go. So we can attend to that, and then if we have any last call, then we will do that.
Thank you very mumuch.
But maybe about PF and all that, I would like to hear more about you, because PF is many things.
Yeah, true.
But then what would be your position, for instance, in this matter that he has brought about laughing at the police?
Yeah, so let me answer from our dear brother, Kanenge. Well, he commended me that I'm selfless. I've offered my leadership. That is okay. Our gentleman from Kanyama has asked me, like, this question never goes away. Why didn't you speak then? Well, I did speak. I advised privately. In some cases, I wrote on my Facebook page for something that I felt were not pleased. Milambo Hapande from Wacha in Kabwe. Thank you, my brother, for those encouraging words, and we are trying to be united. Hamianda from Lusaka, again, he says, I don't attack anybody. For me, I bring this type of politics, issue-based, focused on our people, citizen-focused. Let's discuss something that can help our people. And what are the policy interventions to what we think we can lift ourselves out of the crises we have. So that's a leadership I bring, and that's a debate I encourage, that we should be preoccupied with that. Bamlenga says two things on Chilufyatari. Chilufyatari, a good friend of mine, an activist and the president of the political party, is an opposition leader. For me, I regard whatever he says, that's his opinion, and we ought to respect it. He's not engaging himself in PF matters. We know our constitution. For us that applied, we know if we are eligible or not. We've read the constitution, we've read the rules, we know what central committee will decide, and we're encouraging as we lobby. So I do not pay much attention. We should just regard it as advice. Maybe he's alerting us about something that, look, maybe some candidates may not be qualified, but this is a sore point that might divide you. What are you doing about it? So Wamlenga Mwilasa kama nefilanda watayali, bari kwa ta political party yao, but sometimes we have to advise filafini. But the party has organs and mechanisms in it, it deals with all issues. And he says, Katete crisis. Now, the Katete crisis brings to the fore many, many issues people are not aware. First of all, there is someone who's alleged to have killed a villager in the village community. They take this matter to the headman. The headman appears to be taking sides to the alleged killer. And they pressure, when it becomes a pressure point, and the man is taken to police. The police within 24 hours, our people know that cases of murder are not bondable, they're not bailable. And the man is seen in the village again, just the following day. So you can see institutional failure at local level where the headman has not provided proper leadership to the concerns of our people. And the police at the police station don't seem to have dealt with this matter promptly, investigated it properly. The man was just detained for 2 days and is released on murder charge, murder case. So you see now a people taking law unto their own hand, where they burn the headman's residence and his car, and the police then respond with full force. Then they are met in a clash with the community. There are system failures there, but it would be foolish for any leader to take praise that wakapokola wali boma. No, no, no. Even when the police brutalize a young man like Tayali or beat any of our people, we say that's not your role, that's torture, you are breaking the law. We do not condone the police to beating our people. Similarly, we would not like our people to take law into their hands. Remember again when the police didn't seem to have dealt with the issue of gassing properly. 50 people, 50, were killed by instant mob. Who they just accuse you of carrying a bag, they say, I don't know what in gas oil. And the community rose and they killed 50 people. And those communities that killed the 50 people, up to 500 were locked up, and some cases are still in court. So it's not good that our people should take the law into their own hands, but it demonstrates that system failure presents even a bigger crisis.
You are calling us on 0977-977. We should be taking, I think, our last 2 calls or so before we come to the end of Politics Unleashed with Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is one of the 8 presidential aspiring candidates for the Patriotic Front. And today we were looking around his leadership competences and what he thinks and believes passionately he should be able to do for this country. And he's a lovable man. We have known him as a lovable man. He smiles, I know that. But then I'm asking myself, for him to come and say he wants to be president of this country, what does he have in his jacket? I'm asking you.
So this is what we did, for example, in South Africa, that long question you have. Sorry. I was trying to read the comments from one of our readers. Yeah. So I get to South Africa. We have no formal relationship with Zambia. Countries have what are called state-to-state relationship, and there were no formal state relationship, and we embarked on that. And within a period of 1 year, we resolved that issue where the 2 countries signed. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Zambia and South Africa signed what we call the JCC. This is a joint cooperation between the 2 countries, the JCC. And we even elevated further. There is a binational commission where it is chaired by presidents. Most of what we call JPC or JCC are chaired by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs or Ministers of Defense. But for me, I crafted Zambia's first bilateral relationship at presidential level, a binational commission where the 2 presidents, because it's far better, matters can be resolved if president on his side with members of his cabinet and the other president on his side meet. They are able to resolve far faster than if it's the ministers, because the ministers, most of the issues are intersectoral, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs might not have the powers to rule on the banning of tomato imports. Yeah, they have to go to Commerce, and the Commerce is a peer. He might not even take his matter seriously. So because of the nature of South Africa is our largest trading partner other than China. I said we needed to raise this relationship, and we broke the record in this country, where for the first time there is what is called a binational commission. So we were not just having tea in South Africa. We created what is called the Zambia-South Africa Business Forum. This is an investment forum for Zambians and South Africa to sit, discuss, and resolve matters, because business is done by the private sector. And I didn't find a forum or mechanism. Like I'm saying, South Africa is our largest trading partner. And then there are no these formal mechanisms. So the business to business could speak and state to state could speak. And most of the issues were resolved. So for example, banning of tomato, banning of maize, before it even took place, there were formal, informal discussions, and we prevented most of those issues. The diaspora community, you have one of the largest diaspora community in the world for Zambians. It's South Africa. At the time I was there were in excess of 15,000. And on the books, there were just about 2,000. By the time I had left, we had increased the number to about 13,000. We knew at least where the 13,000 Zambians were. I'd found on the books 2,000. And this was together with the association. We made the association vibrant. We brought them into the embassy. We worked related correctly on these projects, supported them in whatever we could, whether it was in sickness, whether people were jailed, whether people were died. The embassy became, for the first time, very close to our people. Again, transformational leadership. These are not things that you find that they are written. I could have been another ambassador and enjoyed my tea and enjoyed the evening cocktails, drank the best champagne in the world is in South Africa. I would have done that, but I chose to work and bring service to our people.
I see your boots strapped, and I see you running for this country. That makes me happy to see that there is one person that feels that this country needs to develop. I don't know if there's a call that will stray in, but maybe in closing, what would you say would be okay? There is a call. You are through to Politics Analyst. Good morning.
Morning.
Please, your name and your contribution. If you've heard, we're just about to close.
Student Simpungwe.
Basimpungwe, please go ahead.
Yes. Mr. President, we said,
Karame Sabarishani. Isa, we are making a team. Join us.
Yes, I can't wait. And sir, whereby abambia represent atafunga but no bamwambanga bakuleta stati awe sofia lishibawe balanda wino sana and kutatua timu ambassador Mwamba atafanya driving seat and aishwa bakwambia and often encourage abambi makashara aikata by como ambassador alidale since that mona Mwamba mona police authority then I'm jamu by cry baby the police and he mona no will okay when I cry baby the mama showa I who was attending abantu kaweka la kuna maira kusala dura sana mamoto kuja kuika kitafyo mungu.
Thank you so much to Ateshamkwai. Thank you so much, my brother. As we come into the end, you obviously picked that. But I have a very last question for you. I don't know. My producer is saying we can take that one. There we go. You're through to Politics Analyst. Good morning. This is you're so special. You're so special. You're our last caller.
Thank you very much. Despite I am this is the second time to call Darius calling from Chawam.
Please go ahead, Darius.
Yeah, Mwamba, we kiashi, tusungire chiri tusunga. Then totera sana. Mwamba ndefa mlande kupari pamela fertilizer. Mwako tutolero mpamba watolere chibali. Wakutira tifweba farmers who batupera akasaka kamufweba liseti tupimisha nyama meta. I'm very worried you would therefore cover next year. We show some Bushuka by Shani. We shall matter quite Shani Mucharo, Insala Shuka Quata. Because the Prime Minister and what you are food secure, we have a lot of maize. But I can export quota and I don't know. No, Insala Kavako, Kavashani. I'm a fishing, Kabushama to Kaquato, to Quata, so that we should for and thank you very much.
So from his comment, what I would want you to probably say is agree if that is a situation and say what you would do yourself in such a situation.
So we have a disaster. For me, I declared it a few weeks ago. Looking just simply, the PF delivered fertilizer in districts in their sheds and warehouses by May, April, May. This government was finishing procurement in September, going to October. Fertilizer is a bulk commodity. No matter how miraculous, no matter how methodical you are, you will not land it on time because fertilizer, you are importing it from Saudi Arabia, from Iran, from Ukraine. You have to land it in Beira, and you need thousands and thousands of trucks to bring it here to the center, then distribute it countrywide. There is just no time. And we kept on alerting this government. This bungling you are doing, you are playing like you are playing with medicine. You are calling contractors. You are calling them their PF contractors. They did the same with the contractors for fertilizer. They just didn't like them because they were associated with PF. How do you start with fresh people, new people that have never delivered before, or don't even have stock? The other guys even had stock from last season. But because you are taking emotional decision, you put the country in peril. And you finish the procurement in September, far late into the season. The banks want finance, want contracts, want assurances before they provide financing. Remember, we are dealing with $329 million. This is over $250 million. This is not small money. And then the quantities are large. So I declared it a disaster. Then I said President Hakainde Hichilema needed a team of ministers just to supervise, because we are going to have a crisis where we will commission in a few weeks farming season, which was commissioned on October 16th. There was no fertilizer anywhere. It hadn't even arrived in the country. 2 weeks ago, the minister held a press conference. He said he has only received 56% of fertilizer. He needs to receive 100%. And he says the bulk of it is still on the sea. This was in November. Rain season had started and our farming season was many weeks into the season. Clearly, you have a disaster, and this government has failed to acknowledge, like the disaster in health, where we don't have medicines. They have failed to acknowledge the disaster we have with our farmers. And here we are. So the suppliers are receiving the little they receive, they dispatch to the district. So Africa tracking, which is supposed to, for example, cut 50,000. Here Africa, you have one to fear, maybe 1,000. So people are being forced at Mwala Academy in Africa.
Just in case there's nothing coming
later, yes. For Meda. So instead of 6 bags that we promised you, 3 bags, beso, and 3 top dressing. So we only give you 1 bag. Even muri bag yo waiwa chao taikumeni pan kufikira fe trakimu. So na gani inafuta again bambo kwa kana.
Share this, you will share the other that will come to make a food.
Will our rains wait? Will our seasons wait? Will our seeds that are on the ground wait? So you see incompetence. You see food security threatened next year. I was even sad to hear the minister said people should not worry about food security next year because we have maize from up to September. That will last us up to September next year. How are you taking even pride in that? And what will be our million farmers that benefit from the Farmer Input Support Program? It, in this season, if it fails, okay, you are saying at national level we have maize, but our farmers get paid once in a year. That's the money that sustains them to deal with sick children, to take children to school, to have a livelihood. What will they do next year? You are impoverishing the entire country. And it was even a careless statement from the minister. And we have a disaster And there's nothing this government can do. There's no miracle that they can do. They were late in procuring because of emotional decisions. They had the whole year to do it. The experts at the Ministry of Agriculture told them we float the tender by January, February. And by March, April, we've already awarded and allotted and we've divided it among the contractors and suppliers. And by April, May, you would see President Edgar Lungu commission these warehouses that already had fertilizer. The banks had already piped financing for them. And what we have is now a disaster and totally unfortunate.
Very unfortunate for sure. My producer, Lif Kalpinde, was smiling at one word. In my language, we call it fataleza.
Could it be fataleza? I agree with him.
There's no fertilizer, really. Yeah. There's no fertilizer. Wherever you go, fertilizer is there, but it's not enough. So it's as good as it's not there.
And you and I are having phone calls now. Our parents are calling that we should just give them money they can buy. But even from the agro dealers, again, the price is very high. 1,000, something that would cost 300-400 kwacha, now is costing 1,200. And again, it's not available in many cases.
There we go. My last question is, we have heard this particular administration is pushing and chasing after the previous administration people when it comes to matters of corruption. At the core of your heart, matters of corruption. How is your temperature when it comes to picky kind of a leader?
Yeah.
Will we see Emmanuel Mwamba? He stands for presidency, and then we get to hear that actually there was a lot of embezzlement that you did whilst you were working.
No, it should never get to that. If you are driven by service, you'll be driven not by contract, not by selfish interests. Leadership is not for self-aggrandizement, to enrich yourself. I've had various opportunities in the last 20 years. I probably will be rich, but I made decisions that I can't take a bribe. I can't be corrupted. I want the correct things done. You are my friend. If you have capacity to deliver, yes. If you have no capacity to deliver, I will not give it to you. Yes, you are a local contractor. If you have no capacity to deliver, sorry, I'll get a contractor that has capacity. It's about service. Until we deal with these offices as service, you'll be driven by other interests. Maybe to be the richest Zambian using government money to enrich yourself. You can have multitudes of money. We need, as a country, to have a leadership that I think should be selfless in nature, that should focus on developing this country, not on themselves or their girlfriends. We should be dedicated to developing this country. Simpungwe from Chawama asked one fundamental issue, that is human rights abuse, police brutality. These are very concerning matters. And the president, President Hakainde Hichilema, came on a platform of good governance, of freedom. He came on a platform to ensure that there's no police brutality. And now this is has become a norm so early in his government. And it's a shame, because it's a leader that said, on my clock, people will not be detained for more than 24 hours. People are being detained for days, even when the matters are both bondable or bailable. Chilufya Tayali was brutalized, was beaten. Human rights case. We should never get to that. The young people, the young boys in Chiengi were beaten by soldiers. We haven't seen action taken against those soldiers. This is our country. We will go nowhere else other than this country. It's our duty to develop it and leave it better than we found it.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, presidential aspirant for the Patriotic Front, passionate about becoming the president of the party, and subsequently standing for 2026 general elections to become president of this country is his aspirations. And we do know that from what he has said, we have picked quite a number of pointers, and his leadership competences is what we were looking at. Ambassador, we are looking forward to probably one day have you again, because we'll be having special editions of this so that then you can rebuttal matters that have to do with your mini manifesto, so to speak.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulu. You are my good Dumbuya, and thank you to all the callers. I'm so impressed every time I come here. We are inundated by phone calls, and it shows the wide and reach of the radio station. The program is very popular, the radio station, has become popular. Thank you to our producer. And thank you to those callers. I got your for the gentleman that was maimed, yes. I've asked him to call the studio and they can give him my number. I want to reach him privately and see what can be done. God bless you. God bless our country. And God bless Zambia.
And on behalf of my producer, Alip Kalpinde, my name is Wiseman Zulu. I'm saying goodbye and I go bless Zambia.